Yeah, I mean there are people. I mean, I would like to name names of a couple of people because Nadine Devine was the most amazing costume supervisor, and then my associate designer assistant on Gentleman Jack, and JC Conroy ran the workroom on that. Sean Barrett is a milliner I've known for probably 25 years, and I often go back to. And then there's makers like Parkinson Gill who do a lot of ballet with me, but they've made a lot for Gentleman Jack. So there's certain people, and the same with when I'm doing sets, there's painters that I absolutely love their work. So often I'll go back to working with the same relationships. But sometimes, like at the moment, I'm doing an opera for the Met, and I've not worked with them on the costume side before, and I'm just working with their dye department, and I have a fantastic time. I just saw a bunch of images they produced yesterday, which were just outstanding. So it's lovely to work with people you have often worked with, but it's also nice to meet new people. And every job you meet new people and you find you know new ideas. So it's a sort of dual process.
Costumes have to pass through so many different hands before they make it onto screen. Within the costume department, there are many different positions. It's not just the costume designer going to the mall and shopping and putting together the entire closets. I work with assistants, costume technicians, shoppers, textile artists, production assistants, set costumers, and endless lists of vendors in order to bring the costumes you see in your favorite TV shows and movies to life. Each role within the costume department is integral to the creation process, and being the costume designer, I like to compare it to being an air traffic control center.
That's a huge question that I could probably talk for hours about. But the last project that I just finished doing the pilot on, we had just in house in the costume department 57 crew members. And this included four assistant costume designers. This included set supervisor who ran the costume shop, and that person had their own entourage that works with them. I have a group of buyers who work with me, and then they have sometimes assistants who help them. I have someone who strictly deals with, which no one ever thinks about, is all the shipping and handling and stuff. So I've got buyers who order stuff online, and then I have either one or two people who just deal with shipping. So shipping of purchases that are coming from all over the world. My last project, we had stuff coming in from Asia. We had stuff coming in from Europe. We had stuff coming in from States. We had rentals coming from all over the States and from other parts of Canada. So when you think about all these shipments coming in, who's taking care of all that kind of stuff? So I had someone who works on that part. We have a group of prep costumers, and the prep costumers work with all the assistant designers and then also help working with the buyers. Then on my show, I had cutters, and I had seamstresses. I had milliners on the show. Each cutter on our show had 2 to 3 sewers who worked with them. We had someone who just took care of fabrics because we had so much fabric coming in, and it was a library of fabric. And you think about it, in a library, you've got someone putting things back onto shelves, taking fabric samples of each fabric and going, okay, this just got used for this character, right? And then putting that into hot stock. We had someone who actually just runs the cutting and sewing room, and that's a supervisor. We had a group of people who just did alterations on pieces that came in from either from purchases or rentals, and they just strictly take care of alterations. I had a group of people who work on just aging costumes, and dyeing costumes and teching costumes. We work very closely with the DOP, and we try to figure out, okay, what's a friendly white, what color we want to use, what's the tone that we want to use on this show. Um, again, we have that group of people who work with us. And then we have people who work in background. And that's a whole other group of people who are coordinating background, purchasing the background clothes, filing the background clothes, getting the stuff all organized and getting it out to all the different people, and people who are fitters. I've got a group of people who just spend 8, 10 hours a day fitting backgrounds, sending photos to us, and then having those approved. We've got the list just keeps on going and going and going. Sometimes I think to myself, how do I remember everything that happens on a show?
I mean, you'd be surprised how many people are uh, in your particular department. You know, we have tailors that have different functions that specialize in different things. You know, you could have people who make shoes, who knit things. You have people who swatch and deal only with made to order, or garments that you make from scratch. You have shoppers that go out and buy you physical clothing if you're like doing period or if you're doing contemporary. You have costume supervisors, you have assistant costume designers, costume coordinators, PAs, and then people on set. Like there's a trailer person, um, and set costumers. Like they each have a function. Some are more linear and more practical, and sort of serve as operation. And then the other ones are definitely the more creative elements of the design production process. But for me, I really like, because, people that you hire, they are people who love their craft, and so you really have to let them sort of show their expertise. And then, with sort of your tailors and your shoppers and your swatchers, they are creative individuals, and your ACDs, they are very creative individuals. And so you have to have the bandwidth and the generosity to let them sort of show you and give you answers to your problems. Like I always pose them as, I want it to look like this, I have this specific vision, um, but I don't have all the answers. And then they are sort of your allies in sort of bringing you the creative answers to problem solve. And the more you sort of let them do that, the happier a department that you have, because that's what everyone is, there for. And if they're not going to be there to excel at their craft, usually they're not very good at their work.